Hey guys, today we're going to start on lesson 3 in the book. Lesson 3 is all about selection tools and cutting things out of your document and repositioning them. So what we're going to do today is cut out all these different shells and the screw and place them on the sort of window frame piece of artwork up here. So we're going to cut out the sand dollar, move it to A. We're going to cut out this circle, shell, bowl thing, move it to B, etc. Using our tools. So we're going to make what's called selections using these tools here, these first 3 tools. We have the rectangular marquee tool, the elliptical marquee tool. We use those 2 tools. We're going to use the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, the magnetic lasso tool. We'll also use the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool. The first tool we're going to use is for the sand dollar, and that tool is the quick selection tool. So that's located here. The quick selection tool is W. Really with this one it's super simple. All I'm going to do is click in here and you see it made a selection. It found the edge between the sand dollar and the red background, and it's literally it found that edge right away. I didn't have to really do anything at all. This is a great tool to use when you're trying to select things that have a lot of contrast or a difference in color, or if you have something on a white background or a dark background. But here we go. We're going to move this now, and using what's up here, it's called the Move tool. And if you hit V on your keyboard, it'll go to that tool. I'm just going to click on that. It's going to cut it out. I'm going to move it up here to position A. Wow, just like that. And now it's got the selection there, so I'm going to hit Command D on your keyboard, or go up to Select, go to Deselect. It'll deselect that selection, and it'll move on to the next selection we're going to make. We're going to use the rectangular marquee, or the elliptical marquee tool. Down here at the bottom, we're going to cut this plate out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click in the upper left-hand corner and drag down, and it doesn't match up right away, but that's okay. As I'm making this line, I want to hit spacebar and move that up to the top there. What the spacebar does is allows me to keep my selection active, and I can reposition it. So hit spacebar again, move it around until I get it just where I want it. Let go, release spacebar first, and then release my mouse button. And now I have that selected, and I can move that to position B here. The third thing I want to do is C. Again, I'm going to deselect that. C here, I'm going to go up to my rectangular marquee tool, drag a selection around this. So now I have a bunch of white space and my shell selected. But check this out. I'm going to use my magic wand tool. I'm going to make sure it's on up here on subtract from selection. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to subtract this white space from the selection. I'm just going to click there, and I subtracted all that white space. Now just my shell is selected. Really quick, really simple. Again, works really well on high contrast or differently colored objects. So I move that there. This is really quick, really simple stuff. The next thing I want to do is D here. That's this object right here. It looks like some sort of muscle or shell. I'm going to zoom into it using this tool. We want to be a little bit closer to see it. So for this tool, I'm going to use my lasso tool first. And the lasso tool is pretty much a freehand drawing selection tool. The nice thing with the lasso tool, it allows you to do curves and get in there and make your own selection. Now, if you have a Wacom tablet or something like that, this is much easier to use and draw with. It's a lot harder to draw, with a mouse and get it to be. Look, I just made a mistake there, but we can fix that later. It's a lot harder with a mouse to have a really good selection here, but it is a quick way to make selections. As you can see, though, I'm going in and out of my border. It's not really accurate. What I can do is, if I wanted to clean this up, I can go to subtract from selection and subtract this edge from the selection, and it'll draw it down further in. Or if I want to add to my selection, I can do that. I added to my selection there. I want to add this to my selection. So there's ways to clean up your selection once you've made it. Subtract this from my selection. And again, I can move this using the Move tool. like that. I'm going to Command Z that and get rid of my selection. The next thing I want to do here is do the same thing with my polygonal lasso tool, which is nested under my lasso tool. This polygonal lasso tool makes selections based on line segments, and it's every time I point and click. Let me here, I'll get rid of this, show you up here. I can make selections point every time I click. It sets an anchor point essentially, and I can make quick selections like that. Well, what I want to do is trace this, and the bad thing about this is it is more like line segments, so it's less likely to get your curves, right? Because curves are made of curved lines and lines are made of linear lines. So this is not the best tool for making rounded selections, but we can still use it in this application. So I'm going to, oh, I messed up there, but what I'm going to do is add to the selection. It's okay, I can keep going, add to the selection here. That didn't work. I think what happened was I didn't have it selected. So let me do this, go back a few steps. Now I should be able to add to my selection again. Yep, here we go. When I talk about going back a few steps, I'm doing Command Z. Actually, I'm doing Alt Command Z on Alt Control Z on a Windows, or Option Command Z on a Mac. So there we go. I've added to my selection now, and I have the whole shell selected. I'll zoom back out here, and I'll pick this up and move it to my. Oh, it doesn't really fit. What do I need to do? I need to transform it or rotate it. So to do that, I hit Command or Control Z, and it brings up this bounding box. I can rotate my selection. So I'm going to rotate that to there, and that looks like it fits pretty well there. Hit Return or Enter, and then deselect, and there, that's selected there. The next thing you want to do is use your magnetic lasso tool. It's located or nested under your lasso tool. This is a really nifty tool. It finds the edges on your document or on whatever object you're trying to select. So what I'm going to do is start tracing this shell here. As you can see, I'm just dragging my cursor along the edge of the shell, and it sets points. It kind of finds the edge there between my shell and the background. Now, if I go out here, I set a bunch of points that I don't want. I can hit Delete on my keyboard to get rid of those points and drag it back and kind of go. So if I make mistakes, I can fix it as I'm making the selection here. So I'll pretty quickly finish up this selection. It didn't want to find that edge there, so I can go back and fix that later with a different selection tool or use this tool. But really nifty, kind of quick tool. So I made a quick selection there. Now I want to go with my lasso tool and subtract this little area from my selection because it's going to pick up that edge. So I'm just going to draw around there. That looks great. And now I can zoom back out and move that shell to my letter E. So this is quick and easy selections and moving objects. So the next thing I'm going to do is zoom into this screw head here using my elliptical marquee tool. If I hold down Alt, it will actually drag from the center. If I start at the center of my object, it will grow outwards from the center. And I can again reposition it by holding down spacebar, so I can figure out exactly where I want this to go. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Again, I'm going to move it to the edge, but that's way too big a screw for this board. Right, so for this frame, it looks like it's much larger. So what I need to do is actually rotate it or transform it to be smaller. So I'm going to hit Command T or Option or Command T or Control T to bring up my transform selection. And I'm going to make this smaller. If I hold down Shift as I click from the edge, and it's going to maintain proportion of my circle. But don't hold down shift, I can squish it or smash it or stretch it. So I need to hold down shift to maintain that proportion of that circle. I'm going to drag it and select it right there. It's still a little too big, I think. There, that looks a lot better. I'm going to hit return, and there we go. Now the next thing we can do is duplicate this. I'm going to zoom out a little bit by holding down Alt on top, Alt or Option on top of my selection. I'm going to drag up, and it duplicated it. Now, if you want to be extra fancy, you can, rotate this so they don't look exactly the same. Hit return. I'll hit Option or Alt again to copy it, move it. I'm going to move this back in the center. Alt or Option again, move it, copy it, change it, and then hit Command T to again rotate it. So now I have the 4 screws in place, and the last thing I think the book has you do is crop this out. There's a few ways to crop it. You could use the crop tool and just kind of drag around this like that. Hit return. That's one way of doing it. I'm going to show you another way to do it by using a selection tool. Rectangular marquee tool, I'm going to select that. I'm going to go from one edge to the other, making a rectangle here. And I might bump it down. You can move your selection at any point using your up, down, left, right arrow. So I can move this up, down, left, to right. And then under image, I'm going to go to crop. And it's going to crop to the selection I made. And there you go. There you have it. Lesson 3 is completed. And I'm going to go to File, Save As, save it as finished lesson 3, my name Rainer. And then you save this as a JPEG file again to make it smaller for the internet. And then upload that to the drive or to the Google Classroom. So if you have any questions, go ahead and email me on this, but it's pretty simple, straightforward. Again, please read through the book. There's some things I might have glossed over or skipped over. Make sure you read through the book. It'd be a great idea to read the lesson first and then go complete the lesson reading through the book a second time. All right? Thanks a lot.